was love at first sight. I know from the way she looked at me, yeah. Her eyes said it all. Long days and nights we'd spend till she dropped the bomb on me, yeah. When she said that she was unhappily married with children, I wish I never met her at all. I am Ron Deasy, aka the one-man entertainer and DJ. My real name is Ron Duskin, but I go by all these names, so I'm going to try to fix a couple things while I'm in the making. Okay, that seemed to be okay. I'm going to, I put all my DJ effects in one folder so I can see if I can get to them when I want. I'm going to try something real quick. Bear with me, and I'm going to get right to the scope of my topic for today, which is when tip jar, when you want to use a tip jar and when you shouldn't use a tip jar. Bear with me for a second. I'm going to try to see what this does. Okay, I think the effects is doing what it's supposed to do. I got them here and I got them at my fingertips so when I need them. Thank you for joining me for another segment of Into Music, where I share all my experience with like minds, all my single performers, my solo performers, my street musicians, all my entertainers that make it happen all by themselves. My topic for today is when or when not to use a tip jar. Now, from my experience, I'm gonna turn this mic. I hear a lot of wind. From my experience, I'm gonna get out of this screen here. Back to the topic at hand. But first, I got to take a sip of something that I like. Oh yeah, I got to get another one of that. Anyway, a tip jar is very important for a lot of reasons. It gives you extra money from the audience that you're entertaining, plus what the person who hired you is paying you. Sometimes it's okay. Sometimes you just want to do the gig so you can get more exposure. That's a lot of times when I take a low paying gig or when I lowball myself or get lowballed, I take into consideration what kind of event it is. You know, if there's some kind of book signing party where a few people are going to be there, or some kind of little janky get together, or somebody's having some kind of engagement something, and it's just a few people that's just going to be there mostly talking. And I've been asked to play things like that. You know, they'll say, okay, we don't need all your full setup. All we need you to do is bring your flute and just play some little stuff while we talking. Not me. I don't really do things like that, and especially to travel out a ways to do it. I had someone who wanted me to play just a saxophone before. It might not be worth it for me to do that. I mean, it takes longer to get there than what they're paying me, and I know it's not going to be anything worth them tipping me for. So certain things I just won't do because it just takes a lot. I mean, I work as well, so I'm not really, thank goodness, I'm never really hurting for any kind of money. Sometimes I am, but I still won't just take one instrument and play. I don't like doing that because I have this thing that somebody else might see me playing that one instrument and they might want that same thing for something else, and I just don't have a good time when I like doing my full setup and showcase what I do throughout the night. I mean, I can't play every instrument at once, but throughout the night I'm going to be and played several instruments, and people that's sitting around they're impressed by it, and that helps me to be able to ask for tips when I want. I very seldom set out a tip jar, and I'm going to tell you some of the reasons and some of the experiences that I've had using a tip jar. I'm going to turn certain things down because I might not need it. It might do some funny stuff, and I don't want a lot of noise. My experience of leaving a tip jar out of my setup goes for various reasons. For my experiences, birthday parties, I won't put out a tip jar for a birthday party. For the most part, the guests are going to give the $5 and $10 to the birthday person. They're going to pin it on them or give that to them, and So I don't feel good with putting a tip jar out for things like that. It just don't. It makes me feel like I'm begging. I don't want to feel like I'm begging. I won't do it for corporate events. When people come in there for corporate things, they're going to be suited and whatever, and they're going to have their mind on whatever that corporate event is about, be it a luncheon or some kind of workshop, and they just want some background music. And to put out a tip jar for that, I generally won't do that for a corporate event. Weddings, I won't do it for weddings. A lot of times, weddings, the wedding guests, they're not there. They're there to party and eat and tipping. You might get a tip from somebody, but other than that, if I get a tip from something like that, usually people might come up and just put it in my hand. I don't, sometimes they do, sometimes they won't. But for what the people are paying me for these gigs, a birthday party, a corporate event, or a wedding, I'm already getting paid anyway. So if they're paying me what I want, I'm good. Outdoor summer concerts, if you're lucky enough to do those beautiful hot summer concerts, that's cool. I don't do it for, if I've played a couple of them, I don't put out a tip jar for that much. For the most part, I'm too busy setting up a lot of stuff and trying to hurry up and get on stage, because it's another act in front of you. You only get so much time to set up, and I stopped doing summer concerts. If I'm not the only person there, I don't even try to do them anymore, because it's too stressful for me to try to set up in 15 minutes. I can't set up in 15 minutes. I got too much stuff to do, too many things to hook up, and wet my reeds, making sure. Oh man, it's a mess. It's just too much, and plus I'm lugging everything by myself. If a band can do summer concerts, because each musician they're responsible for their rig and what they're trying to set up. I hardly ever put out a tip jar because like I said, that's how I feel. I mean, people have to ask me to put out a tip jar. I would only put out a tip jar when I'm asked to. Maybe even a club owner or the waitresses, you got a tip jar? Yeah, put your tip jar out. People will tip you. When I hear that, I'll do it in a heartbeat. If I don't have a tip jar out, waitresses will even come up and they'll bring a picture and be like, "Ladies and gentlemen, this guy's doing a fantastic job. We're gonna pass a tip jar around for him because he's, and that surprises me when that happens. That happens to me here and there on an occasion, and it makes me feel a lot better when someone will do that for me and pass a tip jar around. And By the time that tip jar come back, it's overflowing with greenery, man. And that's I like it more like that than to me to put out a tip jar, and you see $3 and a few coins at the bottom. If I'm getting paid what I want already, I'm not tripping too much. But I like a lot of times when the people that I hire me to play for them, I don't put out tip jars at their events or at their parties either. But at the end of the night, when we're settling up and I'm ready to go home, and I go to the person and I collect my money. I don't. A lot of times I don't even look at what they pay me, because we agreed on something, and I just know that they either put it on a check, put it on my Cash App, put it on my Zelle, whatever they do. And when I'm on my way home or at a stoplight, I'll call it up and look, and then it's like $300, maybe $400 over what they would want to pay me, and that's really nice. It's really nice. I enjoy that a lot. Maybe I might play for them several times, and I still charge my base price. I don't take for granted that they're going to give me any extra money, but they just do. And that's why I don't put out a tip jar. Now, when to put out a tip jar is when you're actually in a restaurant or a lounge. But a lot of times you want to be worth the tips. Don't. Oh man, how can I say this? Don't be a background music player and expect a lot of tips. A lot of times I play, I'm actually running the party. I mean, I'm setting the tone for the party, because I'm DJing, I'm playing live, and I'm constantly moving out of one to the next nonstop. So when you're doing something like that, then you can set out a tip jar if you I don't want to say if you feel you're worth it. I don't never feel I'm worth. I ain't gonna say that. I feel like I'm worth tips, but I don't feel like nobody. I don't expect nobody to pay me tips. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that, but I really don't. This chair needs some oil. Now, people who perform on the street performers, most definitely need to put out a tip jar. That's when you want to put out a tip jar. You won't make no money. I don't need to tell a street performer that. This is mostly for you indoor guys like me. You get called to do gigs. You go through a booking agency to get your gigs. You don't want to make it seem like you're strong arming anybody to put you some tips in a jar. I tend to talk a little fast. Sometimes I stumble over some words. Give me a minute. My mouth is getting dry from talking so fast. Plus, I like what's in this cup. Can y'all see that? I'm glad you can. It's nice and grapey. This is a little mixture that I like. I like drinking sangria. Sangria don't get me that buzz like wine will give you. Wine will make you have like a buzz. And then with my sangria, I put some Mogan David wine in it to give it some sweetness. I use some regular sangria, any kind of sangria that you like. I'm just telling you my little secret. With some Mogan David blackberry. I like blackberry. You can use the Concord. They call it Manischewitz as well. Mix that with a couple orange slices, and then squeeze a little orange juicing down in there, and it is so mellow, and you don't feel like you all buzzed out. And wine buzzes me out too much. Not too much. I mean, I like a little buzz, but when I'm doing something like this, I just like to wet my whistle. I don't drink too much juice, too much sodas, things like that. So I do something like that. Anyway, my topic about when or when not to use a tip jar, that can go in a lot of different directions. I mean, some people they tend to have a tip jar everywhere they go. I just don't do that. I used to carry a tip jar along with my equipment, and I would set it up And the most disappointing thing with me is when I set up a tip jar, I usually don't get no tips. I don't know why. Maybe some people do. Maybe like, hey, I got to, some people let people know they got a tip jar up. They do all kinds of things. One guy uh, used to work with, him and another guy, they used to have a tip jar and it had like a basketball hoop on it, and it looked kind of cool, and people knew what it was, and they would get some tips. We'd split that up, and that. But we played in a little restaurant, lounge type of thing, so people knew to do that there. But a lot of gigs that you do, you just may not need a tip jar, and it would sometimes discourage your mood if you, especially if you're looking and you need a little extra money, or you want a little extra money and you're trying to play, and the crowd is so, it might not put you in a good mood. Like I said, my mood skyrockets when I'm on my way home, or I check my Zelle or Cash App the next morning, or once I get at home, before I go to bed, I'll look at it, and I'll see like $700 extra, or $300 extra, even 200, even 100 is cool. I mean, but I've seen some nice tips, and then it's always good because I pass out cards. I get gigs from that. From playing one gig, I'll get a gig from that. Even if I pass out 3 cards, sometimes a person might call me and say, "Hey, man, I saw you 3 months ago at this, and I want you to come do the same for me." And that gives me more joy than anything, when people, because a lot of times I don't think people pay attention to what I do. And I was at a place in New Jersey a couple weeks ago, and people know me from down here in Maryland because the person that had the event did a event up in Maryland with their son. Their son got married, so. But they saw me at a couple of events down there, and I'd be like telling them, I'm like, "Oh man, I appreciate you telling me you like what I do, because I don't think people pay me attention." They'd be like, "Man, no, man, hey, you know what this guy right here said? He don't think we pay him no attention. We was looking at you. We're glad you're here doing this event for us because we like what you do." But anyway, I'm not going to hold you up too much. I just want to know, what do you think about, when or when not to put out a tip jar? Some of you musicians out there, chime in. Please leave me a comment. Tell me if you think what I'm saying sucks. If you like, yeah, you're right, you shouldn't put out a tip jar at every event. I mean, you just got to know where to put them out at. And if you can find it in your heart, please subscribe to the channel. I'm really trying to get set up to where I can call some other musicians in, some other solo players, and I have them speak on the way they do their gig and what they use and how they go up, but all the experiences they have. But anyway, if you will, leave me a like, a thumbs up. It'll help me out a whole lot. But I'm going to be chatting with you all real soon again. You all have a nice day. Take care, and I shall be seeing you sometime in the near future. Take care.